The lineup you see on the screen is the top projected one tonight for Saints-Bucs on Monday Night Football. In this video, I'll show you what to learn from this top projected lineup, as well as the projection and advanced stats from the game. By the end, I'll reveal 3 ways to get different on tonight's DraftKings Showdown slate to give yourself a realistic shot at winning that $500,000 that's going to first place. But as always, let's start with the Vegas odds as the foundation. Tampa Bay is a 3-point favorite in this game, which is at Tampa. In a Vegas line, it's moved from -5.5 to open the week. Normally, that's a sign the markets expect a more competitive Saints effort or even a possible win. New Orleans is 19 implied points in the game, while Tampa Bay is 22 implied points, according to the market priced over-under. Now, let's talk about some of the key players in tonight's Saints-Bucs game. The 2 top projected players on the slate, Tom Brady and Chris Godwin in that order. Alvin Kamara is the highest projected Saints player, but just slightly ahead of the projection for Mike Evans. This should also be a popular slate for kickers, with Ryan Succop projected as one of the top values, and Will Lutz not far behind, which you may have guessed from seeing both guys in that projected optimal lineup. Former high draft pick Kevin White seems to be the $200 guy who'll project the best, but explosive gimmick receiver Rashid Shaheed could be a higher upside play for the Saints. He does have a better projection at a slightly higher $1,400 price point. It's also worth pointing out that high upside tight end Juwan Johnson has already been ruled out for the game, and that could mean more usage for Adam Troutman. And Leonard Fournette is expected back to chip away at Rachaad White's recent workload. He was a full participant in practice for most of the week. And with all that in mind, let's go back to that optimal lineup and others like it, built on Fantasy Cruncher with Stokastic.com data. You have Tom Brady at captain, Chris Godwin, and unstacked Andy Dalton, Rachaad White, Ryan Succop, and Will Lutz. Ryan Succop appears in 76% of lineups at utility, as well as 8% at captain. Will Lutz is in 32% of lineups in utility as well. These are very higher rates for these kickers to appear in top projected lineups, which means a lot of the field will likely land on these volatile positions. As we saw with Brett Maher for the Cowboys last night on Sunday Night Football, a chalky kicker, even in a logical situation, can be wise to move away from to make the volatility go in your favor. It's also worth pointing out 20 out of 25 lineups included 3 or 4 Bucs players in that optimal lineup build. So onslaught builds for Tampa Bay are ones that flip the script in favor of a New Orleans upset. Those are ways to get different from the field while still playing something there's a decent probability to happen. Tom Brady also seems like he's going to be a very popular way to build tonight at captain. He showed up in 72% of the optimal lineups as the captain. It's very easy for a pass catcher to outscore a QB on DraftKings due to PPR points and receiver bonuses. So you should either stack Brady heavily at captain with 2 or 3 pass catchers or move away from him in that spot. In a little bit, I'm going to show you some low-owned lineups that could help you get away from that potential heavily duped mess. But first, let's talk about some noteworthy stats for this game. Leonard Fournette is expected back tonight, likely in a timeshare with Rachaad White. And people love Rachaad White, myself included, especially in best ball. Both guys have been equally mediocre on the year. White has a low 11% missed tackle rate, while Fournette clocks in at a slightly worse 9%. Both guys also have negative DVOAs, according to Football Outsiders, with Fournette at negative 13% and White at negative 14%, which means they're both roughly that much less good than an average player in the exact same down and distance situations. The Bucs D has been soft in the red zone with a 63% touchdown rate allowed, despite forcing a league-high 50% punt rate. The Saints are stingier when teams get into the red zone, allowing a high 22% field goal rate, but a low 47% touchdown rate. So there is some danger of fading a potentially high-owned Ryan Succop, especially considering Tampa Bay kicks field goals on 20% of drives, which is 5th in the league. It's also an interesting day to target Mike Evans. He always comes in lower than Chris Godwin on DraftKings due to that full-point PPR, but New Orleans is 25th in the league defending wide receiver ones with a 14% DVOA boost to the position. Mike Evans is targeted for a high 115 air yards per game and makes for a nice boom-bust captain player that leverages off of Tom Brady there. And if it helps, New Orleans also plays man defense 40% of the time. And Mike Evans, he's targeted a team-high 27% of the time on those routes, with 2.3 yards per route run and a strong 14% touchdown rate. And it also doesn't hurt that his longtime rival Marshawn Lattimore currently questionable to play tonight. Now let's get to the 3 lineups that I think represent low-owned angles to play tonight, as well as my 3 pro tips to get different on tonight's slate. But first, if you like this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to Splash Play. We've got new videos daily that will make you better at how to attack fantasy football. And that includes these short-form showdown videos on Mondays and Thursdays, as well as our flagship show with my pal Pete Overzet and also some guests. And leave a comment down below with your showdown thoughts. I always reply apply. Now let's look at 3 unique lineup builds to try. And keep in mind, you can play these lineups, more specifically, they represent angles that show you how to build to get different from everybody else on a DraftKings Showdown slate. And this first lineup builds around a lot of things that we just talked about. Mike Evans at captain, Tom Brady, Chris Olave as the lone Saints player, Rachaad White, Bucs D, and Ryan Suckup. You leave $1,000 in salary on the table. Makes it more palatable to have this many chalky plays in one lineup build. You account for a decent likelihood that a boom Chris Olave game can outperform Andy Dalton, who's projected to be played by half the field. This one's going to be even more contrarian and tells a tale of the Saints performing similarly to Indianapolis last night. Mike Evans at captain again with Chris Godwin, Tom Brady, Rachaad White, Buccaneers D, and Rashid Shaheed. Half the lineups tonight will have at least one of Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, or Andy Dalton. But what if those Saints all fail and they only score a touchdown through a fluke bomb or two? That's how Rashid Shaheed can get there, much like Alec Pierce did last night. Well, the Bucs roll on the other side and have no need for field goals due to all the touchdowns these guys are scoring. Now, here's a different approach if you're not as much of a Mike Evans guy as I am. Leonard Fournette at captain with Chris Godwin, Alvin Kamara, Jarvis Landry, Andy Dalton, and Ryan Suckup forcing his way in again. This lineup accounts for the ways Tom Brady doesn't make it into the winning lineup. More PPR points for Chris Godwin, Suckup finishing drives that stall out, and Fournette cleaning up even more. You also get Fournette as leverage against the likely very highly owned and perhaps overvalued Rachaad White. Lenny could easily scoop up some TDs and PPR points if they decide they need his more trusted pass blocking. As for the Saints, we get Jarvis Landry and Alvin Kamara taking chunk plays away from a popular Chris Olave, with Andy Dalton coming along for the ride. So to help you go build your own spins on tonight's slate, here are my 3 pro tips to get different on tonight's Saints-Bucs DraftKings Showdown. Number 1, onslaughts are in play. The utilization rate for lineups with 5 Saints or 5 Bucs is low for a showdown slate. And we know that the volatility of these games can be ways to get away from a lot of the field. Everyone will play builds with 3 of each team or 4 Bucs. So don't be afraid to target a lower probability outcome for 2 teams who are going in different directions as it relates to the playoffs. And my second pro tip is going to be that kickers can be faded. And I mentioned it earlier, but last night, Brett Maher looked like a great play. Great projection. The Cowboys kick a lot of field goals, and Indianapolis gives up field goals at a high rate. 30% of people last night played him. You know what happened? The Cowboys scored 7 touchdowns. While the opposing kicker, Chase McLaughlin, he's the one that won people all the money. Ryan Suckup was in the exact same situation, admittedly with a less potent offense. It doesn't mean he's a bad play. He's in fact a very good one on paper. Hell, simulations say he might end up as captain 5% of the time. But if offensive players score touchdowns, he fails. And that would allow you to jump a lot of the field. And my third pro tip, don't forget about Lenny. People love new young guys, and Rachaad White won people a lot of money last week when Leonard Fournette was out. But it's entirely possible that Uncle Lenny gets more snaps or more successful plays than White. And that would blow up a lot of the field's ownership on White. It's uncomfortable to play Leonard Fournette right now with his role seemingly slipping away to White. But Fournette gets 2.5 intended red zone touches per game compared to just 1.1 for Rachaad White. And it's entirely possible for Fournette to luck box a few touchdowns, even if White does outperform in yardage. So there you have it, guys. Everything that feels important for Monday Night Football, Saints-Bucs. So hit that like button and subscribe to Splash Play. We care a lot about giving you good info and not wasting your time here. So show us some love, and we'll do our best to never let you down. Follow me at Chris Spags and follow this show at Splash Play Pod. Come back tomorrow for a first look at Week 14. So enjoy your nights, guys, and good luck. I feel like lately I've been bashing kickers a lot in these videos. And to be clear, like last night wasn't going to play the showdown, ended up playing a lot of Brett Maher. And I can tell you, I am right to be mad at all these kickers. Kickers, I am your enemy. Unless you're Pat McAfee, then you're pretty cool.